I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to see what happens.
Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the University of Applied Science in Amsterdam. Today it's the day of the DSS Showcase, and for the past 20 weeks the trainees have been working very hard to prepare for today. We are very curious what's going on, so let's have a look. Behind me there are the 7 groups of trainees from all around the world that are preparing the last preparations for today's exhibition of the showcase. Let's find out how they're doing that.
This project is you go inside the dome, share us some stories, information about what you think about the future of higher education.
How was it being a domie?
It was really difficult, but we made it.
You made it, yes. And today you're going to show off what you made. So are you excited to show up?
Yeah, I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to see what happens.
What do you expect from this evening?
I'm expecting some people to be really surprised by our project.
So the past 20 weeks you've been working on this project. Can you share a bit more how that experience was for you?
Sure. Well, I think the whole program at DSS, you start in a position where you have no idea what the end output's going to look like. So it was definitely challenging, especially at the beginning, to get our heads around designing a platform. Our team is all new to that kind of design project work. So it was exciting, but it was definitely challenging. There were many hills that we climbed, but I think our team is stronger for it, and we're really proud of what we were able to deliver as an output.
Did you have some fun in the past 20 weeks?
Yes, we did. It was awesome. We learned different things, and also we had enough fun learning about the disability dimension of diversity and inclusion.
So I work here at DSS and I've seen you very often, and I was always very happy to see you because you've been always smiling so much. How did you keep that smile on your face while the stress built up?
Well, I mean, if you stop smiling, you're not gonna feel less stressed, right? You have to keep going.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the DSS Showcase. I counted, and it's our 13th showcase, so that's a nice number. That's a big round of applause for the 13th. My name is Marco van Hout. I'm one of the co-founders of Digital Society School, and it's my pleasure to host today with Ivana.
Yes, so my name is Ivana. And I'm responsible for the communications and storytellers track during our traineeship program here. Before we begin our showcase, I would like to guide you through some practical information. So, first, there is a photographer with us today. So, if there is someone that would not like to be present in the photos, please let us know. Then we'll make sure that that's covered. Second, each of you has received a name tag. By the end of the showcase, you can return it to us in front of the clubhouse and exchange it to a small token of appreciation from a DSS. So please don't forget to do that. You also probably notice we have some snacks and drinks in the front. They are all for you, so feel free to grab some while you're roaming around and exploring the exhibition of the final solutions from our trainees. And finally, we also have a DSS booth on stage. That's also for you to explore and find out what transformation role you have. So yes, that's all from the practical side.
I will go and dive into the content then,
Exactly.
right? So today is really about sparks of transformation. And the word transformation has been used, I mean, how many times have you heard transformation, trainees? I mean, a lot, right? So what does that mean? That's also a big question. What does that mean? Well, we try at the DSS to make that practical, to transform and to guide transformation. And that's why we are a digital society school, because we believe that, you know, society is in transition at the moment more than ever, and we want to guide that into the right direction and use digital technology for that. So we published a DSS playbook this year, and in that book, the practical becomes theory, and the theory becomes practice, if you follow it, of course, correctly. So also the subtitle is, of course, Transformation by Design. And we defined 4 E's that you go through to transform by design. We have the first E, which is explore. I think that's kind of obvious. Then you need to kind of embrace that change in that exploration. Then you experiment. That's what we do a lot here. And then you evolve. And I think if you talk to any of the trainees or the people that have been in one of our programs, you will see that they hopefully evolved. Someone else who is evolving in this audience is Gijs Gootjes. I know you hate this, but I wanna say a few words to you, Gijs. You are one of the co-founders with me also, and we wouldn't have been here without you, and we wouldn't have a showcase without you. And you are transforming into a new role as director for the region, regional director for EIT, Culture and Creativity, which is an EU-funded, very interesting community of knowledge and innovation. We wish you all the best, and of course we will have a better moment later next week. But I would like to ask you as an audience to give a big round of applause for Gijs. You definitely deserve it, so here it is. Now on to today.
Yes.
Okay.
Last semester, we talked about hope, how it fuels our dreams, our ambitions, and also makes us resilient in drastic times or when we experience certain obstacles. But it also is an active feeling that can evolve, and be translated into something else, into a sense of wonder. When we do not longer just seek to go through life as it is, but want to explore, want to seek out new experiences, and want to understand the world around us. The sense of wonder is also something that helps us to share new ideas, to collaborate, and build communities that kind of move towards the common vision for a better future. And that's also something that we do with our learning programs here at DSS. We encourage such collaborations. We encourage people to fall in love with the problems. You probably heard it many, many times, but look into the how and whys before we come up with the solutions. So today I want us to hold on to hope, but nurture our sense of wonder and further build on it to create profound impact, to help those sparks of transformation further ignite our flames of change. And then together we can shape the future that we want to have and build the world that we want to live in. So without further ado, we are going to step into our part of getting to know who we actually have here. Who are the change makers? Current change makers, potential change makers, past change makers, all of you. Who do we have in our clubhouse today? To do that, we are going to do a little thing called WooClap. So if you could grab your phones out and scan the QR code. For our audience online, you can also participate. We would love to welcome you as well in our little exploration of our guests. We see the count really growing fast, so let's give it a couple of minutes.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, we even get flames. I didn't see this before. That's pretty cool.
What do we get?
Little flames and hearts on the
hearts.
side.
People loving us already. Showing the love. Yeah, nice.
Okay, let's give it one more minute.
The love continues, but people are not coming anymore. Yeah, so, yeah, I think everybody's in.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's still growing, but I think we can slowly move to the next slide. If people still want to join, there will be on top code to join in as well. So we wonder who is in the crowd today with us. Are you
Trainees,
a trainee,
partners.
a partner, a transformation owner from our leadership program? We also are happy to be a big community of learners, so people that have been part of DSS before, our institutions that we work on different initiatives with together. So
Online crowd is is sleeping or not there.
I mean, the weather is too good to be online. Here you at least can kind of enjoy the AC. Oh, there is one.
Thanks, guys, for clicking online crowd. Now that you can use the code as well.
But it's cool to see that today we also have a lot of people from our extended community. All right.
All right. Next question. Why are you here? That's a very important question as well. Are you here for the drinks? That's not here, right?
Or an air
For the talk
conditioning.
show, what we're doing right now, the trainee projects support participants as families or friends, part of the program, and I'm curious about DSS. You can also be curious about DSS with all these other options, right?
That's the beauty of the showcase. You
But
have
if
so
that's
many
the most
different
important
parts.
reason, then please choose that one. So most people are actually part of the program. And to see the train, you see there's a little competition going on here between part of the program, just like the Dutch team yesterday.
Oh, no.
You think they make a chance, but then
We do not talk
it's
about
not
that.
happening. Cool. Okay. I think we can go to the next. So to see projects and being part of the program.
The next one is more of an open-ended question. And since we talk about change and transformation and talk about how can we make impact, we also wonder, what do we need? What kind of key elements do we need to create such impact? What kind of keywords come to your mind when you think of this question?
Yeah, and it's an open question in the app, right?
Yeah.
So all right, people are nice. There's a lot of variety already. You see that money, that's a big winner already. Collaboration.
Nothing moves without it.
Yeah.
But it also shows how little elements also are playing a great role, right? It's not only one thing. It's not only, oh, I need a team or I need the money. There are other elements that we sometimes forget about as well or overlook.
What I find interesting, you have money, but then integrity was here very big as well. That's also very important when money gets involved. Yeah, there you go. Integrity, teamwork, community, collaboration. That's nice. I see some smileys with, oh no, the money smiley. It's a popular one. Right next to mindfulness.
And I feel that it also moves from more abstract concepts like hope or openness, etc. to more
Sharifa
concrete.
is in the house. I mean, let's end this because people are playing with it right now. 9/11 was a hoax. I see strange things popping up. Next question, please.
And when do we begin?
When do we begin? Let's see what.
There is
There
one
we
and
go.
only option.
There we go. Okay, so it's time for our main speaker. I want to introduce him properly, so I'm going to read it. Kees Klomp, welcome to the show. I had to make the joke from Youssef Showcase. I'm sorry. Kees Klomp is the program manager of agency at Windesheim University of Applied Sciences, and he is an expert in the purpose economy. He inspires young people, just like us, to make a difference in tackling climate change, biodiversity loss, political polarization, and economic inequality. You are the author of the, since recently, award-winning children's book, The Rainmaker. We have some copies still lying around, so if you're interested, because they're finished, right? Yep. Yeah, so wonderful, wonderful book. Your work emphasizes systemic change and meaningful entrepreneurship. You were previously a professor at the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences and dedicated to motivating students to engage with and solve societal issues, igniting the sparks of transformation. Please welcome to the stage, or whatever it is, Kees Klamp.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I have a... there it is.
Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. A very hot afternoon. Okay, guys, so I have 20 minutes to summarize 4 years of research work, which is more than enough. So let's go. In my previous job as a researcher at the University of Applied Science in Rotterdam, my main job, my main task was to research the possibilities and impossibilities of economic system change. So my role was called Professor of Applied Science in Existential Economics, but basically what we did was try to find out, can we change an economic system? And if we can, how does that translate into business education? And that had all to do with the fact that if you look at all the big issues we are facing nowadays, it doesn't matter if it's social or environmental or individual, climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, political polarization, wealth inequality, depression, burnout, they have all one thing in common, and that is the economic system. The economic system causes all these crises. So what we started with is to see how reality is layered. So to see how we can create change on which level. And therefore there are many different models that all do the same, but we used this one, which is the work of Charles Eisenstein, an American writer and philosopher. And he, in 2012, he wrote something in one of his books that states, symptoms rest on top of systems, and systems rest on top of stories. So reality is always layered in this threefold way. And what is really important, and which was a big game changer in the research work, is we started with focusing on the system. So all our efforts, in first instance, work toward policy change. Okay, so we have to tax companies, or we have to subsidize good wanting behavior that we want. And what we found out is, well, it didn't work. It just created incremental change, and that had to do with a lot of with the fact that if people don't believe in change, if they don't want change, if change is not intrinsically motivated, it will not happen. In the best case, they will respect the law. In the best case. So this is where we change. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a couple of things that we worked with during the students. So this is all researched. But what we did, first of all, was to play around with the story layer. So you might not be aware, but all of you, we all believe in stories. Our identity is basically a story. You know, we can't live without a story. We are story beings. We need a story to believe in, to identify with, which happens from completely unconscious. We're not aware. We just believe. And so the way that we look at the world is our truth. And we project that truth and we perceive that truth. And therewith we we stumble a bit through life. That is what life is basically about. But if you change the story, the truth changed. So one of the things, we played around with two stories that are so omnipresent that we never question them. And the first of all is individualism. Individualism is the story of modern Western society. And I emphasize modern Western society because there are many places on this planet where this is not the case, thank God. But here it is. Let's start positive. Individualism brought a lot of good. The fact that we can be selves, that we can be individuals in a society where we have laws and that we respect and that gives us freedom to think and act the way we want is a great good. But if you talk to an ecologist, and I talk with many ecologists, they have a completely different view on life. Ecologists said, you know, it's very interesting that humans perceive the world as individuals, but life on this planet is by definition individual. All life on this planet is related. There is no living being on this planet that lives autonomously, not one. There is no isolated life. Life is related. So, you know, this is basically a human delusion. But it is the birthground of liberalism, capitalism, neoliberalism, consumerism. It's all based upon this delusion. So we can change that story. And you guys, just to be sure, I'm not asking you, I don't want to get you into an existential crisis this evening. So you don't have to leave your story. I just want to see if you can find room to acknowledge the fact that they are both true. Because individualism is true. It's a truth. We can experience it on a daily basis. But individualism is as true as well. So you can hold both. And the same goes for Maslow. Do you know the Maslow pyramid? We all know him, eh? Yeah. I know that the Maslow pyramid is scientifically all but sound. The Maslow never created the pyramid. It was actually a flow chart, but it doesn't matter. The reason why I still use it is because it is in each and every book about economics. All of them. Not one exception to the rule. I studied stacks of books for my research, and Maslow is in each and every one of them. And it basically states the human as a needs-driven being. That's why it's in all the economics books, because economics is about needs. It's about fulfillment and fulfillment of needs. So it makes perfect sense. So we take that for granted. And there, again, there is a lot of truth to find in the Maslow pyramid. For the last year when I worked in Rotterdam, I worked at the south bank of the city, in the Tarwewijk, which is supposed to be the most deprived area of Rotterdam. I found it a fascinating, flourishing place, by the way, but from an economic perspective, it was all but that. But I saw with my own eyes, we were stationed there in the midst of the community, and I've seen with my own eyes that people month after month after month struggled to make ends meet and have to barter and trade food somewhere around the third week of the month because they weren't able to make ends meet. And I talked to those folks, and you can imagine that if you're in this situation, you don't really care about stuff that's happening on another continent. That doesn't make you antisocial. It just means that you have your head full with your own troubles. So there's a lot of acknowledgement to find in this. But there's another one. There's another worldview. And it's called Homo Florens. Have you ever heard about Homo Florens? It's a research work that has been started by the Catholic University of Leuven. And it's now adopted by the University of Humanistics in Utrecht. And what they basically do is they change the paradigm. Instead of focusing on humans as needs-driven beings, they look at value. What do people value? And they do this on many ways, but one of the research methods they use is deathbed interviews. So they interview people in hospices that know that they will die within a couple of days or weeks. And, you know, it's no surprise what happens. But the pyramid gets turned upside down. What matters to people when they know they die is what is in the penthouse of the Maslow pyramid. It's did I matter to other people? Did I connect with other people? So the stuff that we in the Maslow pyramid treat as luxuries are, from a value perspective, the only things that make life matter. And again, I don't ask you to jump from one truth now into another, but acknowledge the fact that this is true as well. But again, our whole economic system is based upon this. The fact that we associate ourselves with material goods is the engine of economic growth. There's a constant tendency to want more stuff. And so it works really well for the economy, but it doesn't really make us happy. And that makes sense because goods are not there to make us happy. Other people and self-transcendence is there to make us happy. Yeah? So it's different. Okay, second one is if you change that story, then you come to the conclusion that our system, the system that we call normal now, is ridiculous. So the Dutch economy, and this doesn't only count for the Dutch economy, this is basically the global norm, GDP, gross domestic product. Gross domestic product measures welfare. Welfare is the total sum of economic activity in a country, which is a strict economic, a financial perspective on value. But in every country on this planet, it doesn't matter where, but in each and every country there are 3 more ways to create value. Universal. It doesn't matter if you're born rich or poor or privileged or unprivileged. There are always 4 ways that we can create value. And welfare is the most dominant one, but we can also create well-being. And well-being is a sociological perspective on value, which is fundamentally different. It doesn't focus on our ability to fulfill our material needs with goods. It focuses on the health of the living conditions and circumstances that we live in. Fundamentally different. And we can also have a psychological approach on value or perspective, which we call wellness, which is about happiness. Fundamentally different again from welfare, although a lot of people mistake wellness for welfare. A lot of people associate happiness with their capacity to fulfill the material needs, which of course is ridiculous. It makes you completely dependent. It makes you an addict. But still it's what we do. And then last but not least, there's also an ecological perspective on value, universal. And this was the most strange thing during my research. There is no economic approach or a name yet to label this. So this shows you how over-economized our society is. We can't even put the value of nature into words. Well, economists now call it the ecosystem services, which it's hot. But what is really important is that it is fundamentally different again from welfare. Because what makes a natural ecosystem thrive has nothing to do with the capacity to fulfill our material needs via goods. Different. And now the big problem and the issue of our current economic system is very simple but really profound. It's the delusion, again, it's a delusion, that well-being, well-living and wellness are results of welfare. This is basically what the whole focus on GDP is about. It's based upon the assumption if GDP goes up, it is good news for well-being, well-living and wellness. The only thing we have to focus on is a growing economy, because the growing economy is an indicator of a good life. Bullshit. Empirically sound bullshit. In the Netherlands we know that welfare since 1964, so in 60 years, has increased 300%. So our economy is 3 times bigger than it used to be in the 1960s, which is something that puzzles me because I turned 56 last week, which means that in my lifetime, the economy has grown 3 times in its size. But we also have measured well-being and wellness in that period. So well-living is then associated with well-being, and we know that wellness hasn't grown 1 bit since 1964. We are not happier, not a single percentage happier than we were in the 1960s, not one. And our well-being is going down. So 3 times richer, not happier, and an unhealthier situation. We're crazy. But still, we continue to focus on economic growth. So if you change that system, if you can acknowledge the other values than only the strict economic and financial values, you can also create other practices. And I think the most important shift that we see taking place is the shift that is called regeneration or regenerative business, which basically shows that sustainability which is very much the buzzword in business, is only a halfway solution. In practice, sustainability means that a company does its utmost best to minimize the harm on people and planet. That is what sustainability is in practice. So a company that is truly, truly sustainable doesn't hurt people and planet. But what we can learn from the regenerative economists is, but why can't a company create value instead of minimizing harm? Why can't a company, for instance, create biodiversity profit or social inclusion profit? Why is a company about money? And then economists go, well, I can explain that. This is, we live in a market world. You can't trade biodiversity on the market. Well, interesting thing, Nancy Bokker, one of my dear colleagues at the University of Maastricht, she wrote a new paper wherein she shows the flow, the transition of economics as we know it. And this is where economics started. Economics is about efficiency. Nutsmaximalisatie in Dutch. And now we go through the motion, and I guess most of you will recognize these buzzwords, net zero and net positive. But what's really, truly interesting, and maybe this is a nice theme for next year, Nancy sees flourishing as the end game. And flourishing is a term that derives from ecology. A flourishing ecosystem. But what's underneath is really fascinating, because she states, put societal and environmental well-being above profit. And this is the moment where most of my business students lose the plot. They go like, what? That can't be the case. So are you suggesting that a company that doesn't make profit will survive in the future? But as long as it does well for the planet or people, yes? That's exactly what it says. Ever heard of taxes? Subsidies? Oh yeah. So we have whole sectors that flow on subsidies. So we can do this. We can do this. It's a matter of making decisions. So this is where I started. So what did we conclude? Besides playing around with this, so we played around. My students were my researchers, by the way. So I worked in the field lab, so my students were my researchers. And we created this new economic narrative, this new economic system, this new economic practices. We did this for real in Rotterdam. And we found out something really profound. And this is actually the reason why I skipped universities and started to work for the Windesheim University in a new job, new role. Program manager agency, because what we found out is that if you look at the 3 buttons that we use in education, not only in university, basically in all schools, attitude, knowledge, and skills, there is a big dominance on knowledge and skills. Almost 90% of all education is geared towards knowledge and skills. But what we found out is that attitude was all decisive in what makes our students really change. So to put it simple, you can know stuff, you can be skilled to do something with your knowledge, but if you don't want to change, it doesn't happen. So want is essential. And there is almost no room for training the want in school. So what I did is I hooked up with Gert Biesta. Gert Biesta is a professor in education. And Gert Biesta makes a distinction between what he calls qualification, socialization, and subjectification. It's basically knowledge, skills, and forming. And the focus on attitude means that we had to focus on subjectification. So subjectification means it's an existential approach to economics wherein you basically, this. You start in real life and you experience stuff in real life and therewith you learn. Rather than you learn a theory in a book and then you start to make, or you try to, how do you say this, toepassen? Apply. Applied sciences, yes. apply the theory in practice. It's the other way around, just as you said, Marco. It's fundamental. It's learning by doing. It's actually rather than education about change, change as education. It's a flip of the coin, and this really worked out really well. But it's fundamentally different. It's actually you flip the classroom. So the teacher is not the person who knows. The teacher is the buddy on the learning trip. So and this is also really nice as a teacher myself. It's really relieving to start a new period of a half year. I just finished a period with a bunch of students by saying, I know nothing. Guys, if you want to know the answers, don't come to me. I know just as little as you about climate change. It's that we really have to find it out ourselves, but we can help each other. So it's a very different dynamic. But what we try to do, and again, this is my theory of change. I just start half a year, so we are fully experimenting with this, and we hope within a year or 2 years to I don't know, write some white paper or something with something a little bit more about methods. But our starting point is this. So what we think is there are 3 elementary aspects that we have to take care of: agency, urgency, and community. So it all starts with urgency, a sense of urgency. If you don't sleep lousy at this moment, if we talk about climate change or biodiversity loss, well, basically you haven't paid attention. So urgency is a lot more than knowing, like reading the IPCC or IPBES reports and say, oh yeah, climate change, interesting problem. No, it's about immersing in the data. So you really have to feel. It's not cognitive, it's affective, with an A. So this is where it all starts, and we call this the spear in the chest. If you don't feel a spear in the chest, it doesn't work. Urgency. But then, if you only have urgency, if you only are engaged, but you don't have the tools to work with, if you don't feel empowered to become an activist, then you end up in the death trap. Eco-anxiety, depression. You've probably heard about it because you know what's happening. You feel it, but you have the idea that you can do nothing about it. That's impossible. So that's another one. We use the method. Are you familiar with Joanna Macy? Joanna Macy, Active Hope. It's phenomenal. You can Google it. She is phenomenal. It's about hope as a verb. So hope is not about having an expectation, a hopeful or a positive expectation or an optimistic. Active hope is about basically do the work. If you want to change the world, do it. Could it be fruitless? Yes. Who cares? Do the work. And last but not least, but maybe even the most important thing, and again, this is living proof, is you need your community. If you want to change the system, it's a team sport. You can't do it on your own. You need buddies. You need belonging. You need safety in the group. So we try to do this as well. And then what we try to do is to make a blend between agency and activism. And so basically, I get paid to turn students into activism, but our board didn't dare to call me program manager activism. So we said, okay, we'll use agencies. It's a very, but basically, and I don't know what your experience are with this, but I just talked to Marco a couple of minutes, and I still meet a lot of students that aren't engaged, which puzzles me. That in 2024, with this stuff happening, that you are not engaged, that you don't act, that you don't take control of your life and demand change. It puzzles me. I can understand it, but I really think that we have to change this, and this is what we try to do. We try to find the key to intrinsically motivate our students to get up and be counted, basically. So 2 more slides. What we try to do, and this is something I would like to offer you to take home with you. So maybe you can take a picture and do this assessment honestly with yourself. Because if we talk about agency, and this is one of the tools that we work with, it all starts with an assessment where you are in relationship to these 4 values that I have: welfare, wellness, well-being, and well-living. There are 4 realms in every society: financial, natural, social, and individual. Always, and we have to balance those. And one of the big challenges that I face, and I think we're not the only one in Zwolle, is that we tend to teach our students, business. But you can't be a business student if you don't know how nature works, how society works, and how you work as yourself. But still, there is almost no room in the curricula for nature, for social developments, and or for self-knowledge, not one, which is ridiculous. So, for instance, poverty. I had a talk with the students a couple of weeks ago in one of the projects, and he said, well, poverty is your own fault. Well, are you sure? Might be worthwhile to investigate that. But he was convinced. No. Everybody can become what he or she wants. It's your own fault. Most of my students don't know nature. Nature is the core. It's I don't know, it's a place that you go to recreate or whatever. Instead of it's a living system. So very important. So maybe you can do this also for yourself. How well do you understand nature? Have you ever talked to ecologists or biologists, and do you know how systems work, ecosystems? Do you understand how society works? Do you understand poverty? Really understand? And maybe most important, do you know yourself? Do you know your belief system? Do you know where your belief systems come from? And so most of my students know their belief system, but what they don't know is that it's basically the belief system of their parents. So they go, no, but I did this, and I go, oh, and I can see Dad talk. Yeah, so that's not you, that's your dad. What do you think? Yeah, so important stuff. And then what we try to do, and this is our dream. It's a bold, ambitious dream, but if we look at our current reality in business school, it's basically this way. So our students are educated in anything that has to do with business and finance. My students know 101 ways to make money, easily. And if you have a very enlightened teacher that takes sustainability or corporate social responsibility serious, they might also be educated in the field of impact. So how does this company work in relationship to society? And this doesn't exist. And who are you in this? Really? It's sad, but it's true. And if we want to change the system, we have to do it the other way around. Because you have to understand yourself. Then you have to know how to make a difference in this planet. And of course, you're in a business school, so you have to do this with a business model. I can understand that. And then, last but not least, I want to leave you with a hopeful piece of it's a couple of words by Professor Karen O'Brien. I'm a huge fan of her. What she does is she uses quantum physics for social change, which is really a big eye-opener. There's a lot of wonder in this. And I'm going to read it just because it's so empowering. Transformations to an equitable and sustainable world where all life can thrive will not happen through wishful thinking and hope. On the contrary, agency and action are essential to realizing impacts. Agency, which can be thought of as conscious action, intervenes in systems by disrupting or transforming patterns and relationships. In each moment, we are both passively and actively co-creating structures and systems that support or inhibit a thriving world. When actions of individuals embody universal values of equity, dignity, fairness, and compassion for all, new patterns can be created, and will is the essence of agency. A power to animate and move the body and the mind from the essentially passive stance of cognition to the active, purposeful engagement with the world. You matter much more than you think. Agency is an entangled, interacting phenomenon, and the outcomes of our intentions and actions affect us all. When we embrace our complementary identities as both individuals and collectives, we can generate patterns that ripple, resonate, and replicate at all scales. Social change is about being a different paradigm, especially that last one. You just have to be. You don't have to become a Greta Thunberg. Just be yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kees. Actually, we interviewed Kees before for our Dear Future I'm Ready podcast.
Yes.
And we also interviewed Karen O'Brien. So I would recommend to listen to both.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How cool.
You have to listen
How
back.
Cool. Wow.
Cool. All right, we're going to make a little switch to a panel structure. Kees, please have a seat as well.
Yeah,
I would like to welcome to the stage Troy and Lisa. Lisa Dijs and Troy Nachtigal. Definitely.
Well, thank you, Kees, for the talk.
Pleasure.
And we decided that it's going to be nice to have a little post-talk conversation instead of just a Q&A. But of course, your questions are also welcome. But we thought that it would be interesting to combine the talk that Kees gave, as it really echoes how at DSS we also approach things with the sense of urgency, the community, and the tools given to our trainees and our transformation owners through the program, but also partners that participate as the challenge providers, the ones that give our trainees real cases to work on. So really trying to bring that change into life, into the world. So that's why we have Lisa as one of the transformation owners from this semester.
Hello, everybody.
And Troy as one of the partners from this semester, already for the 4th time.
Hi, everybody.
Maybe it's nice to start with the first question that I have prepared for you, for all 3 of you, which is, we talk about the sparks of transformation, right? What was that moment for you when you realized you wanted to change yourself and become the agent for change as well? What was that moment that you were
Spear in the chest, I heard.
The
Kees.
spear of the chest.
Spear in the chest moment.
Yeah, that conscious act of disrupting.
Who would like to start?
Shall I start?
Yeah, sure.
So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa. I work in the Ministry of Agriculture, soon to be called the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Safety and Nature. Yeah, I have to practice, you know. And I'm going to answer this question in the context of this program, because I've been working there now for 2 years, and we have to deal with a lot of really complex issues around sustainability of land use, and basically how will we use the scarce land in the Netherlands. And I saw that I work with a lot of really smart people, and the way we work is that we put all these smart people in a room together, and then we expect them to figure it out by talking to each other without much guiding methods. And I have a friend, Irene, who works here at DSS, that I have had really lovely conversations with about the methods that you use here. And I thought, well, I feel like we need those as well, because I don't ever see emotions or personal preferences or assumptions addressed in these meetings. And I think they play a big role in having a good conversation, because if we are going to figure it out by talking to each other, we need to know how to have a good conversation. So I was hoping that I would learn that here.
Was it a success?
Yeah, sure. Maybe we get to that later.
Yeah.
That was my drive to change something in my place of work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wonderful.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Troy.
Mine's a little different. So
Which
I was
is great.
I was a fashion designer. I went to New York City, was doing technology and fashion. Calvin Klein moved to Italy, so I moved to Italy, got a job at Calvin, saw it all from the inside, did not like it. Tried a few other places, still didn't like it. Constantly got angry as to what I was seeing and just how they treated people, how they treated the people they were designing for, how they thought we all use our clothes every day was just not what was actually happening in the world. So that ended up going back to school, doing more work on that, master's, PhD work. And then I realized, okay, we can do this different, but we have to change a lot of things. And nobody who works inside the fashion system wanted to talk to me about it. So I decided to come somewhere where I could talk and work with people about it. We could change some of the terms. They're not consumers, they're our wearers, they're our users. We work with them, not against them. We're not constantly trying to fill their big box of toolkit with more stuff. We're trying to figure out what's in their toolkit and make that better. That's grown and grown and grown, and now we're on the third round of this specific project, but it's a big EU project for the transitions pathways with the DG Grow and the DG Environment at the EU level, where we're looking deeply into how we can actually get people to change their fashion practices and what it's going to take to help the 15,000 fashion companies in the Netherlands, much less all of Europe, to change how they do things.
Wow.
So we're deeply involved with that at this point.
Thanks for your involvement.
15,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
You'd never believe it. Go to the KVK, there's 15,000 fashion and textile companies here. And that's thanks to Francesco. He figured that out. So you really need people here
He's
at the
also
DSS.
one of our transformation awards.
So, for me, the birth of my son was a game changer. So I have 3 kids. My wife and I had our 2 daughters in our 20s. And then almost 11 years ago, the universe had a bit of a surprise for us, and my son was born, and that fundamentally fucked me up. Because for the first time, I've always been an engaged person, but then for the first time, I held this little being in my arms, and I understood, fuck. So everything I'm doing today will influence his life, not the life of his children, but no, his life. And then I turned an activist. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank
So I
you.
decided to do whatever I have in my power to minimize the harm, which is not a lot, but it's something.
Inspiring. Thank you. I would like to open up the floor. Who would like to ask a question to either one of the panelists or all of them? Otherwise, I will just throw it.
There is a question over there.
There you go. Please talk into the box.
Hoi.
Yeah.
Kees,
Ja.
we had elections. we had the
This is
outcome of
dangerous.
it. It's fear and it's driven by fear, a lot of fear. But we need an answer. What if we start, and I already had one interview with Louise Vet, professor ecology. I asked her, can you become, we need to raise a schaduwkabinet. She will be the prime minister. You will be the co-prime minister. What will be the first thing you do the first day you start in this position?
There's a job offer inside of this question. Let's see.
Sounds good.
That's interesting.
I think I would, and this sounds paradoxical, but I really mean it. I would be honest to the Netherlands and to the world that we are in collapse, and start from there. So rather than live with the delusion that we might just get away with this, accept the fact that it's not going to happen. We're in collapse, and hospicing the old, midwiving the new. So we have to deal with reality. That's the first thing I would do.
Nice.
Because policy has no chance whatsoever based upon the idea that we might just get away with this, because we're not. Sorry for ruining your evening.
Okay, the shadow.
By the way.
There you go. Yes, please.
I also had a question for Kees, but the rest can answer too if you want. So in your story, I heard a lot about like making a big change and all that, but I was wondering why you kind of stopped at having businesses for social impact and not just abolish the market in its own and like have a planned economy, for example. Because I often feel like we're trying to do like minimize harm and do like positive stuff, but like why don't we go for actual system change and get rid of the market, which is ruining everything?
Well, yeah, we can. Well, I totally agree. So I'm a big commons fan, and I'm actually writing a new book about a commons-oriented new world order. It's a utopian book.
Okay.
That's why we need to declare collapse first, because you know the system is still alive. It's not, but we act upon as if it is, and we can't fundamentally change our story as long as the system is still alive. It's too powerful. So I totally agree with you, but we need to be hospices first.
Troy, can you also, from your perspective, right? You're a professor in applied sciences. What are the results that you have encountered already that might give some hope for that transition?
Yeah, if you look at clothing specifically, because that's what I look at, I think what you're starting to see is how we are dealing with the mountains of clothing. This idea that if we start from, well, not trying to recycle the clothes that you're currently wearing, but that big mountain of clothing that's now visible from space in Chile, that's just clothing, or Africa. I mean, there's two textile dumps that are visible from space at this point, making it, you know, an actual geological resource. That's an interesting place to start. When they first discovered oil, there was a big debate back in 1924 as to whether oil is a vegetable, because it's just dead plants and dinos, or is it a mineral? And they go rounds about this. It actually starts in 1917, ends in 1924. They come down to it's a mineral because of the fact that it's found in a extraction process. But what if we had classified it as a plant and seen it as something natural and realized what it was doing bad for us much earlier along the lines because we saw it as something more living? I think we'd be in a very different place. It's counterfactual, but we have to start looking at those things that we use all the time like that and try to figure out how do we do it differently from the beginning, and that the trash is the place to start.
Stories again, right?
Story change.
Yeah.
Story
Okay.
change, yeah.
Changing nomenclature.
Yeah, here you go.
Thank you.
This is going to be the last question because we slowly need to wrap up.
So during your presentation, I was just wondering the capitalist mentality that we have, then the sense of competition, and then also looking at Africa. Sometimes when things are presented from the West, I look at it so smooth, but actual, you know, I'm very pragmatic in my approach to things. Then I look at it that how can we try to maintain values in the midst of capitalist community, and then you think you're going to have a headway and then break forth. So that is my concern. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, yes. Yes, how do I react? Well, capitalism can't exist without colonization. It needs to exploit. Otherwise, there is no profit. And we are so used to this story that we are living in, and I don't know, it's one gigantic Stockholm syndrome. So we can't change the dynamics of the systems by holding on to the same story. So the fairy tale that capitalism has created is that we can all realize welfare if we just make money. I think it will never happen. So I think we have to let go of that story. And the strange thing, this is one of the things that really puzzles me. It really is a story. It really is a story. So and I have zillions of discussions with, I don't know, colleagues, students, other professors, where you end somehow in the discussion end up, but Kees, this is just the way that things are. No. This is just the way that we've cultured and conditioned things, you know.
Change the terms and people change their minds.
Yes, we can do this.
Yeah, do we have time for Lisa to say?
So in that case, I'm really hopeful for Africa.
Definitely. Yeah.
I keep thinking about this diagram that was in your slideshow case about there was 3 circles and it was also about doing things in community.
Yes.
And I feel like sometimes you have to go to a place where they might not want to hear you. And that's actually where you are doing the most important work. And I can't like shout at my colleagues to change a story. Then they don't want to hear it, you know? No. So I think there's also something about I don't know, inviting people instead of yelling at them to do something different. I think that's for me a way to. I think we need both. Let's be clear. But I think that's for me a way to maybe, like you said, have values in a place where you feel sometimes it's hard. So
but it might also be very worthwhile to invite the cows, the pigs, and the other animals to the table.
Plenty of non-humans.
Yeah.
I think that would really help the sector forward. Agriculture sector.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's invite
They'll
the
fix
pigs.
their office before.
What would the pigs think?
But if I hear you right, it's also like including into those stories people from outside of your, like, let's say, small circle of the community that you're having with the like-minded individuals, etc. But it's inviting others, including them in those stories, sharing them together. And I think today, this is also what we are going to do when presenting all the projects of our trainees.
Experience over convincing,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's showing instead of just telling.
Right.
So we invite you to share those stories together with our trainees. And thank you so much for the panelists. Let's give them
Lisa
a round of
Dijs,
applause.
Roy Nachtegaal, Kees Klomp. Thank you.
This was a perfect transition for us for the closing remarks. And to do that, we invite a very special guest. It's the Dean of our Faculty of Digital Media and Creative Industry, Frank Kressing.
A regular visitor.
A very regular visitor. Let's give him a round of applause.
Well, thank you very much. Hello, I'm Frank. And I must say I'm always very humbled to be at this gathering because there's so much passion in the audience. It's even more than here. So it's a very nice experience to be able to talk to you just for a brief minute. First of all, I would like to thank Kees. Kees, it's super inspiring what you're doing for us. And I think your pledge or your paradigm was the starting idea behind the Digital Society School. So I do think that everybody here in the audience, I saw much nodding and humming, and yes, that's the case. So I do feel that you resonate with this story. Is that the case? Do you resonate with the story? And you talk about urgency first, I think. So urgency means that we think there is time and space for us to act. And I do think that many of you might feel that. Who of you feels that? It's a time, that's urgency. This is time to act and change. Who of you feels that? Most of you do. Some of you don't yet. Most of you do that. And then you also say that if you have the urgency, but you don't have the tools or the agency, then you get, in the end, very depressed. It's clear. Because then you see all the things that should be done, but you have no way to change that or to be a part of that change. So it's very hard for you. So what we want to do at the Digital Society School is actually maybe not even, maybe nourish the urgency, because you come with that. If you don't have the urgency, you don't come. But then equip you with the agency and make sure that you have the tools, the network, the space, the freedom and the support to somehow come to that agent stage and be the change that you want to see. So who of you has experienced that? Who of you has experience getting agency towards that? There's still people that don't. Who of you has the sparks for agency? So did you somehow get some of the tools that will help you to make about the change? Is that with you yet? I see many people nodding again. So I'm super happy to see that as well. So that means that we always say this is this is the end point of the program, and you've invested so much time in it. But it's the start of the rest of your life. Huh? So this is not in any way it's the end point. It can only be a starting point. And that means that we hope to see you as ambassadors, equipped with urgency and agency and the tools and the network to make about the change that you want to see. And then finally, what you also remarked, I really like that as well, is that we don't have to be Greta Thunbergs, all of us. It's impossible. It would be very strange. What you only need to, you have the attitude. That's what you say. Huh? You're nodding, so probably I'm saying the right thing. So it means that by being the change, you affect the change. And I hope that you will go away with some of that spark. So being yourselves, being changed a little bit, and then bring about the change you want to see in the world. And I hope you see that. And finally, the way that you could do that here is because of your own efforts. It's because of the partners, we've seen some, but it's also because of the team. And who of you is the team? Can you show a hand? Who of you is the team? And can I have the biggest applause possible for the team? Yeah, you have my sincere respect. It's hard in the University of Applied Sciences to make a space and the space for something like this to happen. This is not normal. Although I would like to say to you, Kees, that this is the normal state of affairs within our faculty. It's maybe not. It's a special place. And this special place is infused by people like you and all those that showed the hands. Because every day, again, you try to find new ways to equip people with this agency. And once more, my thanks. I hope you had a good program. I'm very much looking forward to see you over there. And that's all I can say. Thank you very much for being here, and see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
So,
thank you, Frank.
I guess this is it?
It's the end game. We have to finish up.
The end game only for the talk show.
Yes, of course.
Like, I think you are tired of us already.
I think I'm in the words of Kees.
But now it's the moment to actually roam around, explore all the projects that our talented trainees have worked on for the past 5 months. So please enjoy, get those sparks flowing, and we hope to hear from you also if you got that inspiration during the talks that we are going to have after this.
And I would like to thank Ivana very much because she was the driving force behind the showcase, together with Jeroen. Where's Jeroen?
Who is
the other
behind the scenes.
Oh, he's behind the scenes in the online. Big round of applause. Fantastic.
I'm going to be blushing.
Blushing is good, and I think that's also our cue for the drinks.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Enjoy, and see you next time.